All right, everybody, welcome back to another trading video here. It has been a little while since my last video. As you can see here, I've switched platforms that I use for trading and charting. I used to use Stocks to Trade, but I have switched over to Trendspider. I switched over at the end of November on a Black Friday deal. Actually, it's like 30 something a month I got it for. And so I decided to check it out, and I really like it. They've got a lot of cool indicators that I've been experimenting with. As you can see here, these blue and green, they're called clouds. They're actually called Ema Clouds by Ripster. And I joined a trading Discord, and Ripster is a hugely popular trader on Twitter, and he's actually in the Discord group that I'm in, so he provides a lot of material on how to use these clouds and strategies for them. And so I've just been experimenting with them a little bit over the last month or so. Like I said, didn't trade today, but I did have a nice trade using them last week. I tried to take a trade this morning on Hoth, Hoth, which is what we've got up here, and I missed my entry. If we just pull up E-Trade real quick, I tried to get in 150 shares at 135 at 9:52 this morning. So roughly, let's just get in here. It was right on this pullback here to this cloud, and we can kind of take these on and off. So we'll leave the two big ones on. So these are the two main clouds here. This is the 5 to 12 EMA cloud. So the 5 EMA should be above the 12 EMA. And when it is, you'll notice that this cloud is blue here. And then if we zoom in a little bit, you see at some points, this cloud turns to like an orangish color. And that means that the 12 EMA has now gone on top of the 5 EMA. So that is a little bit bearish for the short term. And as you can see, when that happens, the stock does generally get a little bit of a pullback, then it turns blue again, and then you get a nice little spike. Same thing there. And then we can populate these kind of smaller clouds within it. This is just the 8 to 9 EMA cloud. And the strategy that I've kind of been watching videos on and studying uses this 8 to 9 EMA cloud as a good pullback zone. So if you're already in a trade and you want to add some size onto it, say, you got in, I mean, I would never have got in because this is at like 4 o'clock this morning, but just as an example, say you got into your, actually, that's not a good example. We'll say that you get in here when it's coming back through the blue cloud here, and then it pops off, so you might take off a little bit of size there, and then it pulls back to the middle cloud there. It does wick down right at open, which is where I was actually looking for my first entry. I was trying to get in at $1.10, but in that first minute, we went down to $1.08. And unfortunately, I was just thinking maybe we'd panic down, or not panic, I guess it wouldn't be much of a panic, but just sell off down to that dollar hole level that we are kind of using as support in pre-market. And it's just kind of a key psychological level, $1, nice round number. So I pulled back on my entry and didn't place my order for 110, thinking I might get a better one down at $1 or $1.02, something like that. Then we ripped back through 110 and we sat at like 115, 120. Well, we didn't sit there, but I got up there, pulled back to it, and then I was waiting to come back to 110 and we never did. We took off here to the 130s and we actually halted up right here. We came out of the halt and then halted again up into the 150s. And then you can see we got a pretty big pullback, and we've been sitting sideways most of the day. I am still watching this just for a potential squeeze or a breakout, since we are kind of holding up these levels. We've only got about a 17 million float on this, I believe, and the volume on it today is 226 million. So we've rotated the float a ton. The reason I haven't taken another entry late day, though, is because we do keep getting stuffed right at this 150 level. We broke through 150 on this candle here. These are 3-minute candles, not 1-minute candles. I've switched to those as well, just to kind of keep a little bit of the choppiness out. I don't know, it's helped me from getting kind of chopped out and selling positions too soon on fake outs. Just a little slightly slower time frame. But you can see we didn't hold this break of 150 well whatsoever, and now we've been getting stuffed, at like 148, 147, 148. So that's kind of keeping me off of it, but we are holding, kind of this low from the open today, and we've kind of made higher lows throughout the day. Then we did have this pullback here, but we held 130 pretty well. Then we did get down to 128 was a low, but we bounced off of that pretty well. And like I said, still chopping sideways. And another cool thing that Trendspider has is volume by price. I'll turn it off really quickly so we can see it when we add it back. But like my other platform and pretty much every trading platform, when you add volume, it just adds the volume down at the bottom. So you know the volume by the time. At 9:30, we had this much volume from 9:30 to 9:33, the next 3 minutes, the next 3 minutes. But it doesn't tell you exactly the price that volume is coming in on. So we've got a rather big candle here. We'll just use this one for instance, even though we halted at the end of it, from $1.36 to $1.58. So that's 22 cents of range on a $1.30 stock. That's a 15% move. And you don't know if the majority of that volume just came in at the beginning and then we shot up, or maybe it didn't take a lot of volume at the bottom half and then we had a lot of selling pressure or some buyers stepping in up there. So it's obviously good to get this volume and roughly the range that volume was coming in on. But if we add this volume by price, you can see along the right side here we get these blue bars. And these are really cool because then that all this volume came in, roughly between $1.42 and $1.46. We get the most volume right in this like 130. I can't really read these numbers that well. That's probably my only complaint so far about Trendspider. I wish I had the ability to make these numbers a little bit bigger and brighter, but I don't think I can. But you can see we get a ton of volume at these levels, so it is acting as pretty good support. But then once we're getting into this 150s, you can see this volume dries up. When we spiked through it here, and then once we got into this halt and sold out, no buyers really stepped in up in this area. That's why we sold off so quickly. And you can just see that here, no volume up at this level. So just sellers come in. It doesn't take a lot of sellers to send the price back down. So this is really good, useful information. And it is good to kind of find support levels because you can see kind of these volume shelves sticking out really far. That there's a ton of buyers in this area that are willing to step in and hold the price up. And then the other thing that we've got, but the main strategy is around these clouds. I don't know if this video is still recording. What just happened? I think it is. I guess I'll just keep going and we'll find out afterwards. But yeah, so the main thing here is the clouds. Like I said, we can use these kind of lighter blue clouds within the big one as a pullback zone for entry. If you're not already in the stock, or if you are in it and say you sold some into this big spike, then you could re-add here to get some size back, and then you do get nice little some short pops. Like I said, we've been getting crushed trying to get through that 150 level, but it is kind of a nice way to use these, and they actually work really well. I know that Ripster, who I'm learning the strategy from, he really uses a 10-minute time frame. I like the 3 for day trading just because I don't like to have to wait for these candles to fully develop on a 10-minute time frame early in the morning. But then once we do get into like this time of day here, it is good to be able to use these clouds just to see kind of the trend still being intact and support. And you can see these do pull down right to these clouds really well and bounce off of them. And if you get into an entry down here, the 125s is where that cloud was, and then you get a nice spike up there to that 150 level. That's a really clean 20% trade right there. And then the stop out signal on a with this strategy is if you ever get a candle that closes below this top cloud, then that's just kind of your signal to exit the trade. I'm still kind of working out those things. I haven't taken a ton of trades on this strategy yet, more just watching. But I typically, if we get super far extended from the cloud, do take some size off, and I think that's what I'll keep doing. Just because it's going to pull back to the cloud eventually. It's not just going to stay 50 cents away from the cloud. So it is good to take off some size when you get really extended from the cloud, and then when it comes back you can add that size if you want, or just keep your position. But like I said, I tried to get in at 135 earlier, and I was looking at the 3-minute time frame because it was early in the morning, and we just didn't have enough 10-minute candles for me to really get a good trade off of, or a good read off of. So we'll flip back over to that 3-minute. And this always happens, it gets a little jacked up. There we go. So I was getting in, or I tried to get in on this pullback here, and then the low that we had was 136, and I put in a 135 order. So unfortunately, did not get executed on that and did not get a fill. Which I mean, it's not the end of the world. We did get a nice pop up to 148. So off of a 135 entry, that would have been a quick, 10% win in just a couple of minutes. I would have taken that all day. But I was when I was making my entry, I was hoping that we would get back through 150 and test these highs and potentially, push for $2. So I'm not too upset that I didn't get in. And then since then, I haven't entered, like I said, the rest of the day just because um, we've been kind of failing to break out here. But I am still watching it. I know actually at 1:30, the CEO of this company was supposed to go on Benzinga Live and talk about the news that they released today, which is just some preclinical data for their Alzheimer's treatment, but it's really, really early stages. So I think that's why it's kind of faded off. The headline in the news got people excited right at market open. And then I think when people really started diving into the news, they realized how far out this data was and how early it was. And that's why it didn't really hold a ton of weight to continue to run. But that's not to say that it couldn't squeeze, here into the late day. I'll definitely still keeping it on watch and thinking about getting in. Um, we'll just see kind of how it reacts over here. And then this bottom cloud is more for the bigger trend. So I do take most of my entries off of this EMA here, just because it's more reactive to immediate price action. You can see it just follows the price a lot more closely, but this does keep the bigger trend intact. So you could get entries down into this cloud as well, and it's held up pretty well for most of the day. Now you start getting cracked below it, and that's why I haven't taken any entries either. It's kind of failing the clouds here, but it is actually doing a really nice job taking them back over. And that 135 entry I was looking at earlier still would have been a decent entry. We're getting up to 144. We just hit a high of 144. So yeah, keeping HOTH on watch for sure, but no position as of now. Then the other big runner that we've got today is RELI. We're hoping for a break of 10 for a squeeze. It ran hard yesterday, as you can see. We'll switch this one over to the 10, but real quick, I mean, just a quick glance over at these clouds. So it just rides up these clouds perfectly. These offer really good entry points off of that inner cloud, and you just ride it up to the top. And then once it closes below that cloud, is a good signal to get out, because then you've got this big sell-off there. And it's just been pretty consistent with that all day today. So Rally was one that I was watching as well. And then we had FLGC, that was a big pre-market mover I didn't take. It's Flora Growth Corporation. It's a weed stock, and anyone that's been in the markets probably knows, and if you don't, you should know. Weed stocks, they drop their headlines, they get morning pops, and they usually just fade all day. This is a Canadian company talking about expanding their distribution through a deal with Walmart. So I know a lot of people got excited about this. A lot of people in the chat room that I'm in, the Discord that I'm in, I know they entered this at the open and just got crushed, and some of them were still holding all the way down here. And then the other one that we had was PSTV, which was another crappy news headline. They said they hit 2 important milestones, and that was their headline pretty much. So that's just, and once I pulled it up, we had this nice spike in the pre-market, and then we sold the whole entire thing off in pre-market. We're coming back, it got stuffed at pretty much the same level, and then sold the whole thing back off. So I know a lot of people got stuck in this as well. But for me, I knew that HOTH had Alzheimer's news. Everything off of Alzheimer's has been running recently, and these other 2 news pieces were just kind of crappy. And I stayed out of them altogether. Actually, I'm not going to pull up my Discord now, but I was planning on doing that, just because you can kind of see my kind of commentary on the whole thing. But these clouds work really well for day trades, and I just said I wasn't going to pull up my Discord and then clicked on it anyway. But they work really well for even large caps, like Tesla yesterday had a huge day. We'll switch this over to the 10 minutes. But they beat earnings, or not earnings, but delivery estimates in Q4 and gapped up and ran all day. And I mean, you could have played these 10-minute clouds and had no worries on a trade on Tesla and made 100 a share. Um, you know, all day long. You get a couple wicks under it, but like I said, it's you want to wait for them to close underneath the cloud. Um, I know some people did get faked out right there in the morning, and then you get a nice spike, and then it comes down and just bounces off that middle cloud for re-entry all day, and just rides the cloud up all day. If you had options on Tesla, I mean, this is just a nice smooth ride. I am going to fund a Webull account so I can get back into options a little bit because I'm not going to buy shares of Tesla just because I'd be able to buy two of them with my account. And I mean, it would have been a nice trade yesterday. I would definitely take, a $200 gain with two shares of Tesla all day, but that's just obviously, I mean, you don't know it's going to run $100. And yeah, I'm just not going to put my whole account into two shares of Tesla for the day. But just an example of how these clouds will work, and just another new strategy that I'm getting into that I really, really like so far. But then we can get into two or three trades actually that I made last week. One of them being EFOI, EFOI, using these clouds, and this one worked. Don't go too far. This one worked really well. I think it was Thursday of last week. And so you can see here another morning spike, and I missed it out of the open a little bit. It just took off immediately out of the open. This is a 10-minute. I think I was trading it. Yeah, I was trading it on the 3 again. But this thing just took off right away out of the open. Where are we? What day are we on? Come on. Still working out some. All right, this thing doesn't want to work for us. Here we go. Still working out some issues here with Trendspider. Trying to get used to it, I guess you could say. It's definitely different, but it's a really cool platform. It's just a little hard to navigate at first compared to what I was using before. I think there we go. All right. Oh, and see, now I got some solid alerts that can go off. Open is bouncing. That's actually another trade I was going to get into, one of the ones from last week. But here's my trade on EFOI. I'm actually really happy with this trade. I got into it here at 541. So on this pullback, it was all the way up here and super extended, and it didn't really pull back into the cloud too much. It just kind of rode it up. So I was waiting for a pullback to the cloud. Then once we got up this high, I was looking at some other plays, and I just set an order to buy 100 shares at 541. It was more of just a guess because the cloud was like right around here. As you can see, I placed the order right around when it was up in these candles. And I was just hoping for a pullback to the cloud, which we got right in this candle. The low was 536. So I'm really happy with the entry there. That I just was just given an estimate on the cloud, which kind of would have been like that middle cloud that we use for pullbacks, but that 536 was like the bottom of the bigger cloud. But it bounced off of that really well, and I was all out of the trade. My best sale was at 591, and we topped out at 594 here, and then pulled back against the 560s before finally breaking 6, but that didn't hold, and then we sold off. I think my average was about 575 or 578 for all of my sales on this. Like I said, I had 100 shares, and I was selling them. I actually think I might have sold them in 20 lots of 5, or maybe 10 lots of 10. I was just selling some like from 541. I sold some into the 550 and 560 range just in case we topped off at the top of this candle and couldn't break through. And then we just started running into like the 570s and 80s really quickly. So I just market ordered some out, and then just got some really good exits at the top there, and was all out by the time we pulled back. And I was just happy with the trade, happy with the profit. So I didn't re-enter there, but that did give a really nice opportunity for another, roughly 20% bounce, or 10% bounce, I'm sorry, right there. Like I said, I didn't take it, but just to kind of show the strategy and how accurate these clouds can really be, and how much, some of these stocks really do respect those clouds and kind of run with them. You can see as soon as this cloud turned against us, it was just a steady downtrend most of the day, and especially when this cloud, the bottom one there, which is the 3450 Ema Cloud, when that one turns against you and you go below it, and then this turns red. That's why this is orange. I wanted them to be different colors, so that's why the main one is green and red, and then the short term I went blue and orange. But when they're both turned against you, that's that's bad for business. So that was a good trade. Happy with that one. And then my other two were actually swing trades, which I have very, very little experience with swing trades. It's just not a strategy that I like because I typically don't like holding things overnight. Just, I don't know. I just don't like it. It doesn't help me sleep well at night, you know. Just I'm worried I'm going to wake up to some loss, and that has happened before. But this is a new strategy. I decided I should give it a try. It was actually from a different Discord than Ripster's in, but another free one with some really good traders. And it was really cool. One of their really successful traders just one night put in the announcements he was going to hold a Zoom session of charting and things like that and go over some patterns and strategies for anyone that wanted to join. He hosted it for 2 hours for free. I mean, that was super sweet. So that's one cool thing about the trading community that you kind of start to learn and start to realize if you do follow the right people. There are some people that provide really, really good information for free, and then you have scammers like anything else that are trying to charge people $1,500 or 10, maybe not 10, but $5,000 like the guy I used to follow. I won't name his name. I have nothing against him, but his program was like $7,000 to join. I mean, it's just and when I could get great information and stuff like this for free, just put in the time, the effort, and it should all hopefully come together. But this is SoFi, so this was the first pattern or the first trade I've ever tried and executed using Bollinger Bands and MACD. I'm going to get rid of those lines there and throw on the MACD at the bottom. So the MACD is a momentum indicator. As you can see, it's down here below the volume. And just basically when MACD is this green color, it kind of signifies or signals a bullish buying. And when it turns red, there's a lot of bears coming in and a lot of selling pressure. As you can see, it turned red right here, and then that followed. And then you get a slight blue turn, and you get a little spike, and then that blue starts to fade off, and the big sales come in. But this strategy was really interesting that I learned that night. Basically, the guy lets it ride down the low Bollinger Band and kind of bounce, and then kind of test the low again. And it was interesting because he said that it was a good sign. It comes up to this middle line in the Bollinger Band, which is a 20 EMA, and it kind of rejected not rejected, but it started riding the 20 EMA back down. As you can see, these are two red days, although we are getting bullish momentum still. So that means that buyers are still stepping in. Just not quite strong enough to continue to push the price up, but it is holding. And as you can just see here, I mean, history, what do they say? History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. I mean, you get this same pattern played out quite a few times on this stock where it does kind of ride these bands down. And then, you get, okay, I don't know. He showed a couple examples on this same exact chart that I can't find anymore. But you can see, we do get down to this lower band here, and then we test the top again. And kind of, where was that? I don't know. He had like an exact example of it riding the, it might have been on open, which is another chart. But that was a plan. I just, it was off of the daily chart, riding this down with a bullish EMA. And so I entered on this day here at 14.51, and I sold this day at 16.19. So we'll switch this over to the 10-minute chart real quick just to get into the intraday of the 2 days that I was in it. Just because I knew I was getting in on this day for a swing, I was prepared to swing it for a longer time frame. Oh, that's why it wasn't showing, right? Hold on. Let's get back to that real quick. With Trendspider, I have the daily chart on, but I'm showing extended hours data, so it's showing pre-market and after hour levels as well. This is a much better examples that we've got here of it kind of bouncing off and going from band to band and whatnot. But I mean, it roughly looks the same, still riding that down and a big pop. So we'll get back to where we were here. And then once we get intraday, so I use the Bollinger Bands and the MACD for that daily chart and get the big picture. But then the bands obviously change depending on the time frame that you're looking at. So then when I was looking at it intraday, I took the MACD off just because I don't have a lot of experience with the MACD. I took the Bollinger Bands off for the same reason. Don't have a lot of experience with them, and I'm not sure if they're really good indicators. I think the MACDs, but I don't know how great intraday indicator the bands are. I mean, they seem pretty accurate, but hey, I've got my clouds for intraday, which I really like. So we'll just get into that here. And so this day, like I said, it was still kind of selling off and riding that EMA down, and we had this big dip here, but then we started consolidating sideways and did get we got our 5 to 12 cloud turn blue, which didn't really last too long, but I got in right here at 1451. Let it go for the rest of the day. We did get dipped down to 1440, but I had small size and I was only down 11 cents a share, so I was not too worried about it. And then the market opened the next day and we just ripped out of the gate. So that was sweet. But I was prepared to swing this. I was kind of planning on swinging it for like a week or so. But I mean, I just out of the gate ripping. I did want to get it some time, so I went against, kind of my instincts of selling so quickly and let it go all day and rode it all the way up here with the cloud. And then we got this pullback. The larger trend stayed intact, but I did place my sell order. This topping action here is about like 1630 or so. So I'm not really sure why I picked 1619 as a selling point, just to kind of stay under that 1620 level in case we rejected 1620. I just wanted to get out at 1619. We got this nice spike up to the 1640s, and I got out. And then we just kind of, sold off from there and are down quite a bit. So I am looking to re-enter. And as you can see, I've got alerts over here going off, and SoFi support went off 2 hours ago. I haven't got back in. This is a little bit above my level where I was earlier, but I could have got similar re-entry right here. So I am still watching SoFi. It's a really interesting company that I think will have a pretty good year overall. I'm not going to invest in it for the entire year, but buying dips and selling these spikes, definitely something I'll be keeping on watch. And the other thing is open, and this trade is like an exact mirror of this trade. Open is a mirror of the SoFi trade, if I didn't say that clearly. Go back to the daily, take these clouds off really quickly, and throw on these Bollinger Bands and the MACD again. And again, this is the daily chart, so every candle is for 1 day. We bounce off the bottom, kind of consolidate sideways for a couple weeks, and then we are riding this 20 EMA as the MACD turns bullish. And I got an entry here at $14.01. Yeah, $14.01. And then I sold the next day at 1501. Actually, yeah, that was it. So on this red candle, and then this day I sold. So we'll get into the 10-minute. And you can see here just how similar these trades were. Like I said, I got in right at 1401. Excuse me. At the end of the day here. I don't know if I was ever red on this trade. I think we held 14 pretty much the rest of the afternoon. And then the next day, instant spike again. And we'll take off the MACD and the bands, throw our clouds back on, and instant spike again in the morning. Just let it go all the way up, and then I got out at 1501. We topped out here at $15 exactly. I was still holding. Then we dipped down here, and I entered 1501, which is kind of the opposite of what I normally would do. Normally, I would enter for $14.99 in case we rejected off of that 15 whole dollar again, which probably would have been the smarter thing to do, looking back on it. But I just wanted to make $1 a share, which is a really stupid mentality to have. So future me should be going $14.99 instead of $15.01. Luckily, we got this spike, which you can see is just quick wick. It did not last, but it did get through 15 to 15.12, so I got out at 15.01 for $1 a share. So 2 new strategies that I'm implementing there, the clouds for intraday and those Bollinger Bands and MACD combo for swing trades. And really excited about that. The new Discord, the new platform, and I am trying to be more aggressive here in the new year. Just from a podcast that I was listening to yesterday. I mean, it's like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? If I don't want to blow up my account. I'd be really sad if I did, and I don't think I'd blow the whole thing up. But I've been trading for a while now at just kind of a break even level because it's kind of like I cut my losses quickly, which is good. But then when I have winning trades, I never have enough size on them for them to really even be meaningful. So that's something that I'm trying to work on and taking more size. So that's why I tried to get in Hoth. I was actually going to take 300 shares was the order I had queued up for 110, and I would have been so happy if I would have got into that. That would have been one of my biggest day trades, um, probably ever, if I would have got in at 110, because I would have definitely market ordered some out. But this thing shot up so fast that I would have been stuck in the up halt at 130s, and then it literally came out of the halt and halted again in like 10 seconds up to the 50s, 150s. So I would have been like stuck in it for at least a 40 cent a share gain or so. On 300 shares would have been over 120 or like around 100, $120 of profit there. Obviously I didn't get in, so woulda, coulda, shoulda, but on the right track. Can't be too upset about that. And then there was one more trade I wanted to go over from yesterday. I'm trying to look over at the side here. I think it was IMMX. No, it was not. I'm not too sure. I don't want to just start guessing here. I think it was NTRB now that we're looking at it. And yeah, this was our big runner yesterday that I really screwed up on. And it did not play when I should have been in it. What can you do? You live and you learn. But this was a really nice setup as well that honored the clouds. Although I'm having a, let's see, is this? Ah, yeah, here we go. Nope, that's not, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, this is a new platform. Just kind of wanted to make a quick video going over that. I'm hoping to make like 2 videos a week now. Get back to it a little bit. It is good to kind of just go over the trades and talk about them, and um, you know, hopefully shed some light for anyone that is trying to learn to trade still and that is interested. I know these EMA clouds are on obviously Trendspider that I'm using. I've seen them on TradingView. And then if you are using Thinkorswim, I know that there's scripts that you can import them into Thinkorswim if you want to use them. They're in my Discord. If you are interested, you can just comment on this video and let me know. I can send you an invite into there. But yeah, other than that, the market looks like it is, finally out of that end of year chop, and hopefully we'll have some nice month of January here. And that is all for me. So thanks everybody for listening, and see you next time.